Alright, and we're back with game 2. We are alternating play draw, so for the second game, I'll be on the play. Doesn't really make a difference, but with so many temples, it's kind of relevant. Here we have a really slow hand. It is a game 1, we don't know what we're against. 3 of them are Scrylands, but against a good aggro deck, we'll just get demolished unless we get lucky with our Scries. So I think we might have to mulligan this. It's pretty do nothing.
Yeah, it's pretty slow. I'm faced with a similar predicament. The same sort of thing, like I'm dead to most aggro decks, but I do play a lot of other mid-rangey creatures that these Scrylands could get me towards, and Planeswalkers. So I think I'm going to keep it and see what happens. These hands aren't all that common, especially one without acceleration. Like, that's really rare. On the draw, especially when your opponent's on a mulligan, you can usually afford to keep these hands. So
if I was
I'm
an
going to go
aggro,
ahead and keep it.
if I was an aggro deck mulliganing, you would be much safer.
Yes. If your opponent like snap keeps their 7, it means there wasn't much thinking involved in it, and they're more likely on an aggressive deck, and I'd probably shit this back. But we'll keep it and see what happens.
It is interesting to note, I mentioned this in the deck tech as well, but post-rotation, aggro decks are quite popular. It's good to be proactive as people are still figuring out the format.
Yep.
So it's reasonable to expect a larger percentage of aggro than normal.
Yeah. I mean, post-rotation, a few of the cards in my hand won't exist, but...
Well, M15 rotation. Yeah, so we have a card that is excellent, but only one land to go with it, so we have to go. Our turn to go down to 5.
We're taking it in turns today.
Yeah.
And then post-board, we'll go down to 4 in turns, and I'll lose because I started on the play.
Yeah. Alternating play draw, alternating mulligans.
Especially against a 5, I'm much more comfortable with this. Not necessarily in this matchup. Against Esper, I would probably ship this back because it's not explosive at all and it lets them build up towards counterspells, which is real bad for us. But hopefully these Scrylands find us some juicy gas.
Okay, this is the part where I contemplate not going to 4. Because we do have 1 land and it does scry. So we effectively sort of have 2 draw steps. So,
sort of a snap keep, right?
Yeah, and we do have a verdict, so let's keep this. Come on, land. Go.
That's never good for you. So we drew air again. At this point, we're not 100% sure that it's air. Leading with Temple of Silence could be just turn 2 pack rat gotcha. But we'll lead with the Temple of Abandon. Uncastable. But we just have to put that on the bottom. It'd be too slow even if we did manage to get there.
Get there. Go. 18.
Alright, so that's a huge signal that he's got to syncopate. Interesting tidbit is a lot of the time they don't have it, but there's no point playing into it if they do. You just let them take the 2 free damage. So we'll play a Temple of Malice and Scry, put that on the bottom, and ship it back to you.
Alright, now we just need to draw more lands or more relevant spells, but definitely want land here. That was an awful draw and probably passed the turn. So we pretty much have 2 dead cards, and we just need a couple more lands to make these live.
Alright, still playing around the syncopate. We don't want anything to get counted at this point. We are still ahead majorly on cards. That card's pretty good, so we'll keep it. And I'm still comfortable with that position here.
So that's dead card number 3, and we pass the turn.
So you're up to 6 cards in here?
6.
Yep. We'll play a Mutavault and a Domri Raid.
We can't do anything about that.
So we'll take the Domri out. Draw an Elvish Mystic and cast it. I presume this gets syncopated.
Yeah, Syncopate's not doing anything else. Let's get rid of that.
Yep. And it's your turn.
So now we need to draw a land and a D-Sphere. We drew the D-Sphere and we don't have the land, so pass.
Alright, so I'm not sure what the merit is in still playing around Syncopate. I am not 100% familiar on how many copies of it they play.
Usually 2.
But I think I just shock and jam a Storm Breath.
Storm Breath resolves.
Alright, so we'll bash for 4.
Go 14.
The big thing here is that this deck's really good at punishing awkward draws. We'll tick Domri up. Draw an Elvish Mystic and pass.
Yep.
Anytime your opponent sort of hiccups on mana, you can take the opportunity to just completely overrun them.
We didn't draw a land. I think we draw 2 lands in a row, get rid of the Domri, and Verdict. We might still have a chance. We're going to pass the turn here, not concede. But if we don't draw a land next turn, we're just straight cold dead.
I believe you will concede to a second Stormbreath Dragon.
Yeah, I'm just dead.
Yeah. So that was a bit of a quicker game. The differences between these two decks when they mulligan to 5 is I guess in this specific matchup is that the Esper deck doesn't punish you in the sense that you die on turn 6 with like them having a slow draw. You have time to draw out of it, and if they draw awkwardly for a few turns, you can dig back into it. With monsters, however, if they've kept a 7 and you mulligan to 5, there's a good chance they are just going to play, especially off acceleration, like a turn 3 Pillar Grass into turn 4 Stormbreath, and the game's usually over pretty quickly after that.
Yeah, mulligans always punish the control deck more than they do the proactive deck.
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright, so we'll get our sideboards out, and we'll be back in a moment for our sideboard.